Perfect Blue is commonly held to be director Satoshi Kon's best work. Despite the mind-bending nature of Paprika, the terror of Paranoia Agent, the artistry of Millennium Actress, and the tragedy of Tokyo Godfathers, Perfect Blue trumps them all. By doing all four of those at once. Perfect Blue's opening scene perfectly encapsulates what it's going to show you. Mima and her group performing, intercut with scenes of her going about her daily life. The real Mima seems reserved and keeps to herself, while the idol Mima seems like the polar opposite. She's able to go about her daily life seemingly without any care from anyone else. An idol, which in Japan at the time would have been the ideal girl, isn't given a second look. To a fan anyway, she's just a doll. A doll they want to perform to them the role they see them in. They couldn't care less about Mima as a person, the struggles and issues she has, because they just want the monkey to dance. And when she doesn't do what they want, they push it back on her. Even if it's her management that ultimately ends her time as an idol, to a fan, it looks like Mima made that decision. Moving away from her idol self, the Mima they expect her to be. The movie mainly deals with this disconnect. The disconnect between a person's persona and the real them, and the danger of idolizing someone that doesn't actually exist. But it also exposes the dark nature of what stardom really entails. The driving force of Mima's change in career wasn't her ability, she was able to play the role perfectly, but just her age. Idols are meant to represent the idea of purity, but this manifests itself in the idea that if you lose even a hint of your youthfulness, you become trash. And if you aren't full of youth, there's really only one other direction you can go in. Mima begins with a role in the TV series, which was initially minor, but upon pressure from her management, grows in size. There was just one catch. She would have to act in a type of scene I can't actually say the name of, but if I say lack of consent, you kind of get what I'm getting at. This scene has always unsettled me. You can just feel how uncomfortable it is. The actors are told to freeze while they move the cameras, and Mima just has to sit there with this guy on top of her. He apologizes for it, but that doesn't make the scene any less icky. He screws up, meaning that Mima has to endure it for longer. It's not real, but to Mima it may as well be. Her former image as an idol is being assaulted too. She may have agreed to it, but it's her job. What choice did she really have? She's now going to be forever associated with this. The washed up idol who had to turn to some seedy role to get work. Even if it's not actually what happened, it's what people will see it as. And that's really all that matters in the grand scheme. This experience, and a stalker, pushes Mima over the edge.
Of course I don't want to do it!
She begins to lose her grip on reality.
Is that really the job that you wanted? It's a pin!
The stalker knows too much about her, things only she would know, and claims to be the real Mima, opposed to this imposter actress.
Excuse me, who are you? Excuse me, who are you? Excuse me, who are you?
She begins to have nightmares, the horrible events just being a figment of her imagination. But then things go wrong again, and it starts all over. You begin to expect the fake out, Mima waking up for it to all start again, but yet every dream seems to have some truth to it. She did actually freak out during a shoot, run after a non-existent person. The man she killed in a dream is dead, in the exact same way she killed him in the dream. She begins to really believe she isn't herself. She thinks they're dreams, but what if they're actually memories, and she really is just losing it? She begins to be unable to distinguish her role as a character and the real her. Things that happen to the character happen to her, and the character's arc reflects her worsening mental state.
That's right, I'm an actress.
That's a cut!
That's right, I'm a model.
All right, that's the take!
You as a viewer begin to struggle to distinguish what's real and what's not. It becomes something where it's less about trying to figure out what's actually happening, but sitting back and letting the message wash over you. Ultimately, it wants you to be immersed in the scariest part of the film, that the story really has some basis in reality. I said Perfect Blue is about the perils of stardom, but I think it can also apply to a normal person's life too. I've mentioned how I could have got into this a little bit sooner than I did, but I didn't because I was scared of failing. This isn't exactly an even playing field. Social phenomena tend to be a winner-take-all game. You can flounder for years and years, receiving no recognition. Then suddenly one day it takes off. Or it just never does. And you don't really know which one's which until you get into it. As someone with serious anxiety and imposter syndrome, where I feel I don't really have much to say, I felt far safer taking a more traditional path. I loved talking about media, but that dream quickly faded under a sea of deadlines, sleepless nights, and overworking. It was a safer path, but gave me little time to actually do anything else. I quickly forgot it was even a compromise. It brought me no joy. I felt nothing but grown resentment at it all. So last year when I got home from my final exam, I started writing, and I haven't really looked back. And obviously, if you're listening to this, someone did care what I had to say. But who am I really failing? Other people and their expectations? It comes down to how I want to succeed, but have the desire to look after and impress others. I think this is natural. You kind of want people to like you, but it shouldn't be your entire existence, since you aren't always going to be liked. And when you aren't, it just gives you a longer way to fall. The thing is, Mima didn't have that. She couldn't really enjoy acting, because it entailed many things that overstepped her personal boundaries. That lack of foundation was enough of a wedge to let the comments get to her.
You were better off as a pop idol, I was right, huh?
And it's probably something that happens in real life more than you think. Perfect Blue was written at a time when the internet was less prevalent. There were less people its events directly mirrored. Now anyone can post something to the internet. Everyone can be a memer. Social media is entirely based around getting the attention of others, and presenting a you that will achieve that the best. That's where I think the real terror of Perfect Blue lies. That I'm talking about a fictional story, which the broad strokes of play out nearly every day to some extent. You would have to be pretty naive to think that every piece of content you see isn't engineered in some way to drive engagement. I get praised a lot for my authenticity, that I let myself be vulnerable and lay out my thoughts and feelings, but I still withhold things from you. I would make a joke for feeling something that I didn't want you to know because it was weird, but that would still be something I'm okay with you knowing. You only know me as much as I'm comfortable showing you. You can get closer by interacting with me, but most of you will never really know me. I even put on a voice for these videos for most of the time, because you can't really understand my normal accent. If I start talking normally, can you understand this? I don't know. It might be. I might still be putting the fucking voice on. What's captured here is a carefully crafted character. I write in a way to make you like me. I tend to only really talk about topics I think people will be interested in. It's what I have to do, really, to stand out. But the best I can really do is be transparent that I'm doing that. I do try to present myself in my work, but it will never really be the entire me. The term stan literally originates from a song about a fan thinking he knows his idol and wants to be with him so much that he's willing to ruin his life over it. All he knew was the character, not the person. Mimani is the embodiment of this idea. You're introduced to him at Mima's farewell concert, but a single shot communicates all you really need to know about him. To Mimania, Mima is just a figure, an idea he can hold in his hand and control. His fixation is so strong that he can be driven simply by the idea that Mima wants him, loves him.
I'll always be with you and I'll never change.
He only needs the idea, the persona of Mima. The flesh doesn't actually matter to him. He tries to kill the flesh just because he doesn't see it as perfect. Sometimes when I open Twitch chats, I'm taken aback by how weird some of the stuff said is. Even a small creator where I know they will definitely see it. Some people even lean into it, which I'm not going to critique them for, but it has to have some effect on them to be treated that way. It makes people forget that they're watching a person, not a character. This idea is really the climax of Perfect Blue. Someone not having malicious hate for Mima, but still just fixated on her ideal. You find out Mimania wasn't the real stalker, but actually her manager Rika. Rika had the potential to have a serious connection with Mima. It initially seemed she did, but it's revealed she probably couldn't actually care less about Mima. She isn't here for Mima, a girl who is suffering from an identity crisis, but is simply obsessed with the image, as it's really all she wants to be.
Oh, it's okay, Rumi went home. She said she worked hard and needed to get some sleep.
She's always framed as glowing and pure. It's an unattainable perfection, even in what she thinks is going to be her final moments. A curtain call on her performance. She still plays the part perfectly. But Mima comes to realize something. She realizes she is more than just an idol. Acting was her second choice. Maybe she was apprehensive at first, just because it was a change. We all do fear change, right? She experienced a hellish situation, but it also made her into who she is now. She moved past it, because now she can't go back to how it was. The perfect idol. Perfect Blue was a name I really never understood. All of Con's works have a name that directly relates to or sums up the core of the story. Blue can refer to the descent of Mima, going through trauma, undergoing a near perfect metamorphosis through it, or simply the symbolism that Blue holds in Japan. Blue can represent many things: dignity, calm, stability, security, fidelity, purity, perfect purity, the purity of the idea of Mima, but ultimately, a purity that can't and doesn't exist, no matter how much you want it to. I want to say thank you to my patrons, who for only $3 Aussie a month support what I do, while also getting their names featured at the end of the video. So thank you. You help make this content possible. Now, stick around for whatever I put after this. Okay, bye.